Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I promised yesterday that we'd do something a little more hands-on. Like you, perhaps you've had enough of reading documents about Gas City, and you just want to see it run. I feel the same, and I think what we'll try today is philosophy that I've had work in the past, which has to do with talking to the mayor and making things happen. One interesting thing that can happen as we're playing with Gas City is that if we don't explicitly order the mayor to, um, the mayor may just do all our software development in a local session, not delegate things, not send them downward, not create new agents or formulas, not create the kind of institutional memory that we're kind of interested in. And so let's see what we can do to not only talk to the mayor and get our ideas straight, but also try and give it a project that would have enough scope that you could perhaps want to have specialized agents or that kind of thing. So what we're going to do first is get back into our mayor session. Where we left off previously, what were we doing? I think we were creating different stuff for book show, that kind of thing. But we'll just get a new rig. Yeah, so here's the right. Here's the stuff for book show. Okay. Um, let's roll. Okay. Let's. I guess. Feel like we've done enough with book show for now. Let's park it and prepare to start a new rig. I'll I'll describe a design area, and we can talk about the kind of agents we would want to prepare, workflows that would be interesting, formulas, I guess I should say, formulas that would be interesting, and any dispatching or and any dispatching we would like to do. So we've learned a lot of commands to do some of this by hand. For instance, taking a rig and sticking it in storage, um, making a new rig with GC rig. All right. Okay. What is the design area? Good. So as I sort of previewed, if you saw the title, we're going to be making puzzles, and there's a lot of reasons that I like puzzles. Uh, they are tractable, especially on a small scale. We'll be able to make a puzzle and then solve that puzzle, and see how get that sort of feedback cycle going. They're fun. I solve them a lot in my spare time, and it's possible that we could create something novel that maybe other people would want to play and potentially pay for. Who knows? So in this world, there are a lot of um, sort of leaders of the pack. The two that kind of come to mind that are sort of the closest to what we want to do. There's a Japanese puzzle magazine called Nikoli, and I guess I'm saying that wrong. Nikori. Um, they make two-dimensional grid puzzles that you can solve with a pencil. And the idea of these puzzles is that given the starting information and the rules of the puzzle type, you should be able to completely fill in the puzzle grid, solve the puzzle without any guessing, or rather, in a way that's totally deterministic, if you want, totally logical. It's not that guessing might not be helpful in these puzzles. Sometimes the most tractable way to think about doing them is to start a hypothesis and then run it for a while until you derive a contradiction, and then unwind that hypothesis until you get back to where you started, and then try another hypothesis and so on. And but the guarantee is that the solution will be unique and that it could be arrived at logically. That's kind of the idea. And so we're going to avoid things like coin flipping, randomness, that kind of thing. Uh, for any one of these puzzles, we have a few things in mind. We want it to be fun to kind of go through the various deductions that there are. Um, in the computer, we have more freedom than we do on a piece of paper. For instance, on the computer, it's possible to design puzzles that have hidden information that's progressively revealed. But obviously, a piece of paper cannot do that. All the information that you need has to be ready from the beginning and present from the beginning. Um, it has to be complex enough that it's actually fun to go through and derive all of the missing information. Um, it's nice if it's sort of visually stimulating or pleasing to look at by the time you're done. We also want to avoid a whole bunch of puzzle types that have already been done. So that's the sort of main idea, is that we're going to make some kind of puzzle game, 2D or whatever, that in theory you present all the information and then you fill in the entire puzzle grid. Um, there are a lot of mobile games like this that sell okay. Certainly one that has sort of like a connect the colored lines in this puzzle grid without crossing any two lines, for instance. And they might have like little walls and things. And you know, this is a sort of like a unique puzzle type that is fun to do and that people think is worth your time, worth paying for. I think overall, like the overall vision here is let's try to get to a mobile app that we could stick on the store that perhaps somebody who really loved this puzzle type um, would we'd allow them to try some puzzles as a sample, and we would sell the essentially random level generator that would unlock an unlimited number of these puzzles for them to enjoy. So, having described all that, let's try and get that kind of basic idea into the mayor. We're going to start making 2D pencil 2D pencil puzzles. Uh, the Japanese magazine Nikori. I'm still not great at pronouncing Japanese. It's a work in progress for sure. I see that L and I want to do la instead of. Usually I would spell like this, probably Nikori. But anyway, the Japanese magazine Nikori is perhaps the biggest origin of puzzle types in this genre. In the genre, they have the following characteristics. All the all the information necessary to solve a puzzle is present when the puzzle is revealed. The puzzle has a unique solution. Here, maybe I'll go back and start numbering these. 1. The puzzle has unique one unique solution. And this can and to be this can sometimes be helpful. This is like a personal preference thing. Like I tend to enjoy the puzzle slightly more if you don't have to rely on this fact that there is one unique solution. What the kind of things that you can do with that are like, well, if I set up the puzzle this way, then I can be sure that there are multiple solutions. So this can't be the way that the puzzle proceeds. It's kind of an odd thing that can happen kind of in some certain local puzzle types where you're like, Well, this would make a little loop here, or this would make two obvious alternatives. Um, Sometimes it's more fun to sort of ignore this fact and try to catch if a puzzle doesn't have a unique solution by using all the other information and not relying on this fact. Um, like if you wanted to have a create a bug report that says, "Hey, this puzzle has two solutions," then obviously you couldn't rely on this fact when you were trying to cut that bug report. Um, all right, three. No guessing is required. Um, yeah, guessing might be helpful, but it is never required. Every every puzzle solution can be deduced from the starting information. And four, um, the puzzle formed a sort of picture that is um, ple- that is pleasing to view and complete. Five, I guess. It should be fun to make the deductions and fill in the grid. Some value fun. Um, I guess this three is very similar to one. Let's go fix that. Guessing might be helpful, but it is never required. The other big reference point that I have for this genre is a mobile app called Simon Tatham's Portable Puzzle Collection, where they have essentially implemented a whole bunch of these Nikoti puzzles with a generator that can generate random instances of them. And one of the weird things about that app um, is that for some of the puzzles that I like, it's very difficult to tell how you're supposed to proceed with the given information. Like a lot of times, I think that this genre is least satisfying when you're kind of taking a stab in the dark, seeing it not work, and then come back and take another stab in the dark. And it's most satisfying when you derive some kind of insight and then you're like, oh, okay, I see. I've learned a new rule that can be applied in general situations and puzzles of this type. Three, four, five. Ideally, the puzzle rules cause substructures to emerge that form a set of solving rules or heuristics that the player can apply to future puzzles of this type. Um, Another way to describe that is that, well, they're whole board problems. That's kind of what the most interesting ones are like, right? It's sort of like, even though all of the rules are sort of local information, the way that the cells are connected to each other causes something in one corner of the board to be important to some other corner of the board. So that's a sort of like NP complete type feeling or whole board problem is that some of these structures link the whole board together. Um, so that local condition in one part of the board might affect conditions in another part of the board. Okay. Now that we have defined the pencil puzzle more or less, and I think this is a pretty good definition. It should be able to work with that. Um, we don't want to repeat designs that Nikori already done. So if I describe a puzzle type that has already been done in that magazine or similar games, stop me and we will come up with a new design. Um, some questions. Uh-huh. The envisioned product, like I said, is a source of pencil puzzles that someone might want to pay for after experiencing puzzles of the design, varying levels of difficulty. The customer would pay to unlock a level generator, a puzzle generator that can produce unlimited puzzles of this kind. Potentially uh, potentially customers could be granted one free puzzle per day. Uh, one free, a few free puzzles of this kind per day. Um, the target environment is mobile games, but that could include mobile web experiences. Mobile games available in Apple's App Store, Google Play Store. That could include mobile web experiences as well as native app implementations. That could include instead of. All right. Let's talk about the agents and workflows we should set up inside of this rig. We can call the rig. I think Puzzle Town kind of dumb. How about this is always I'm gonna like Google potential names for a second. Rainydan, right? So Rainy puzzles, all one word. I didn't see too much in Google. There are a couple of people like TikTok. Yeah, there's an Instagram account of a person who does puzzles, that kind of thing. A person also from Seattle area, Greater Seattle area. So there you go. let's see here. How about hmm, what about puzzles is like rain or clouds? How about something about weather systems? Inclement? Uh, interesting. There is a person called Inclement. They have done a puzzle game made using puzzle script, which is interesting. Uh, I'm not seeing too much of that. Ah, this is a kind of that is funny. There is a website called inclemental.com, which I like. This is like bring a track from your hiking app for route aware weather. So just crediting them, give credit where credit is due. Uh, I don't I don't think there's going to be any problem with using naming a rig after this rare archaic adjective meaning stormy or harsh. The reason I also like incremental is it sounds like a mispronunciation of the word incremental, which is the way that you solve these puzzles. It's sort of like you make a deduction and you get incrementally close to the end of the puzzle. Uh, very on point for us. So yeah, if we ever need to like give a name to this app or this portion of games, if we call it incremental puzzles or something like that, it's not going to be um, too overlapping, I think, into the arena of this hiking app. But, that's sort of a, I'm not a lawyer, that's a lawyer kind of question. Mm. One thing that I did, I don't know if I've shown this off on the stream before. I'm kind of doing new idea or like paragraph representation with this double semicolon. I think that is probably the simplest way to just talk, separate ideas like that. Almost done thinking. I appreciate it. This sort of like kicking off process is probably going to be the longest part. Oh, whoops, that was a bad idea. There we go. All right, let's see. Let's see what it gives us. Oh, whoops. I always forget which one is start scrolling up. I'll get this sooner or later. Scroll, scroll. Am I dumb? Am I blind? ah, Control B, previous page, page up. Enter copy mode and scroll up. Up we go. Okay, so now we've got our page up and page down buttons. Let's read what it said for us. Hmm. I guess I'm seeing the weird problem that as we scroll up, we're not seeing the previous things that were printed out. Maybe it's in here. Ah, okay, here we are. Good shape for a brick. The product flow is clear. 8 ideas through novelty. Develop rules until solver ready. Engineer the generator. Well, I guess you would also say, playtester. It's funny that it picked up on this thing that we did. Comically opinionated. Do I want to have comically opinionated workers inside of this little puzzle company that we're making? Let's see. Has read the canon. Compares any candidate kernel against known types. Nicoli, Conceptus, WPF, which I'm not sure what that is. Let's find out. World puzzle something? Ah, okay. World puzzle. Federation. There we go. Cool. All pure logic problems. I've never run across this. Mostly, like I came to this genre from a book called Puzzle Ninja, which I highly recommend. It's just full of different puzzle types. Um, and then later, after going through a bunch of mobile apps, I found again Simon Tatham's Portable Puzzle Collection, which is free on the internet, is free for mobile. Highly recommend. uh, so yeah, hopefully we're not going to destroy any of their work or steal any of their thunder. Just do a similar thing in homage. And it's true, by the end of this process, we might not have anything that's worth selling or doing, but this will be a good way to exercise this at the city. All right, drafting rules from a kernel. Write small hand testable instances. Fix revision. I guess that is the idea of right. This is sort of the brainstorming phase. Um, Reference solvers. I guess one thing I haven't totally mentioned about this genre as well is that, like Sudoku, like other related stuff, you can probably cast the solvers for these often, maybe always, as like constraint satisfaction problems. So like 3-sat type of problems, and then solve them using those techniques, like constraint satisfaction. This is like a classical AI technique where you try to define all of the constraints in the system, and then you try to run out those implications as far as you can. You might see if there is a contradiction, or what are the values, assuming that all of the constraints have been satisfied, something like that. And so in our puzzles, we want to create starting constraints that lead to exactly one deterministic solution. And uh, if we can solve a satisfiability problem in more than one way, then that is sort of a red flag that says we didn't find something that causes a unique solution. So that's sort of what I think of when I see this analyst here. The engineering heavy role. That's true. Um, there is a sort of backwards and frontwards side to this as well, where we want to have not just reference solvers, but like generators, if you want, right? Like if there's sort of one side of this that's about trying to solve a puzzle, and then there's another side of this which is about trying to generate a puzzle. And trying to generate a puzzle that's kind of interesting or has a minimal number of clues or is able to grade its own difficulty. Those are the kinds of things that the kinds of skills that are required. So that's sort of the two sides of these analyst and Smith. This one says plain software engineering. Now, the interesting thing is, like, I don't think that you can really do this puzzle generation part, without this solving part, because it seems like those are two halves of the same coin, right? Like, I want to generate a puzzle, a candidate puzzle. I want to try and solve it, see that it's unique, or I want to create mathematical structures that, for whatever reason, guarantee it's unique. and then sort of build it backwards from the solution. Stripping away information might be a way to do it. Um, but if you don't have the solver available, then you won't be able to see that cut between too much information and not enough information, right? Something like that. All right, this is interesting too. This is a way of getting the human out of the loop of our little puzzle creator. All right, formulas, catalog search. I'd argue build it. Yeah, I think that's true too. So I skipped past the formulas. I was sort of looking at these sort of like things to decide. Okay, let's go back to formulas though. Novelty check. Start with the kernel text or the basically the design description. See if we can find a match for it. If so, then it's vetted, meaning approved or killed. Um, and we could generate a lot of ideas and send them through novelty check. We could have the computer generate new ideas and see if they pass novelty check. Um, there's a lot more than 50 types of puzzles, potentially. Nicode's been around for a long time. Uh, there's probably at least 50 puzzles inside of Simon Tatham's portable puzzle collection. Let's just look while I'm thinking about it. Let's count here. There's 24 just in my favorites. Let's see. There's 40 total just in Simon Tatham. And there are definitely Nicodi puzzles or stuff in Puzzle Ninja and stuff in the App Store that is like not in this list. So let's start to, yeah, let's believe that we're going to need even an even larger novelty catalog. Um, let's also reference like popular mobile games that also follow these constraints, like that one about connecting dots with the same color lines without them overlapping each other. I forget what it's called exactly. I think there's also a constraint that you have to fill the whole grid with these pipes, these tubes. Anyway, solver implementation language. Hmm. Do we want the deduction solver to ship into the app? This is also an interesting question, which is like, do you want to provide hints? And obviously, we can take like a little. We can. I feel like it's kind of cheating, but you know, making something that's sort of interface compatible with Simon Tatham, or at least not a regression, has roughly the same features, right? Um, and so, when I'm looking at their mobile app, it's like, we can show the solution. It has the regular save and load stuff, generate a new random game, pick the puzzle type, um, yeah, get the rules and feedback. You know, all those things are going to be relevant for any mobile puzzle game. And I don't think that it's like there's nothing really novel, I think, about having those things somewhere in your interface. It's sort of dictated by the category, right? Um, but that said, like my goal again is not to rip off Nicodi or Simon Tatham's. What I really want to do is create new puzzles of this kind and have them and play them. you know, so mostly scratching my own itch at first. Okay, so novelty check. We talked a little about that. Design cycle. If we have a vetted kernel, then the inventor is going to try and invent ideas. Um, the analyst will hand solve that and create a deduction map, which I assume means guaranteeing that we can solve this with logical deductions, deterministic, no guessing. Playtester critique. see if this is any fun. Do a revise loop, which means back to back to the draft potentially. Um, so this is the loop that we would start to do. Um, get drafts of that puzzle idea. Um, have the analyst hand solve it or go about how you'd have to deduce through it. And we might also include we want to make novel mechanics, right? We'd like to be able to do deductions that people haven't done before. Um, yeah, and then finally, we'll get to a rule set spec that always works or can be used to generate stuff. We can generate some puzzles and then solve them. I think both of these, again, sort of hand in hand. Uh, solver to generator, to solver to generator. Yeah. Yes. Cool. This, I think, would have to do with creating those samples, probably. All right. We've got our novelty catalog. We talked about this already. I'd argue build it as well. Um, and the other reason to do this, besides just that you want it, is that it's an example of institutional knowledge. It's about building a repertoire. And that for me is like one of the most intriguing things about this whole space, which is like, can you take these agents and build a little mini company like we're talking about that's good at building these things? Because if it's good at building these things, it's because they've practiced a lot building these things. They've built up some patterns around these things, not just these formulas, but also everything that they learn along the way. And so, yeah, I would definitely concur with this one. So we're definitely going to say, yeah, we want to build it. The solver implementation language um, has to do with if we want to target creating novel puzzles on the locally on the device without needing to phone home or anything like that, which absolutely um, this kind of thing, there's no need for it to phone home. It should be able to work in situ on the phone with the network turned off. I've whiled away many a happy hour with the network turned off and playing these puzzles. Mobile target may push toward TS so the deduction solver can ship into the app. I I agree. I'm a little leery of using TypeScript and forcing the agents to have to program in that manner. The reason being that, at least as of 6 months ago, they were not great solving problems inside of the constraint of a type system. Um, they were sort of starting to hack around a type system. And so the typing hints and that sort of thing, I mean, I'm a little leery of. Um, On the other hand, it is a fully featured language. We might need to sort of build a repertoire of things that you should and shouldn't do as you're running the solver or the generator in TypeScript. But I guess we'll see about that. Okay. All right, let's roll back down. Yeah, this was a mistake the way that I interacted with this thing. Like I scrolled my mouse wheel up, and then it started remembering a bunch of stuff that was in the history of the agent. And then finally, fun verdict. Forced guess and triviality. Okay, let's talk about that a little bit. Great. Great. Okay. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Now we're not scrolling anymore. Let's type. Great. That seems like a good outline for the kind of rig to create. Um, three decisions. One. Yes, we should have our own local catalog of puzzle types. of puzzle types. I liked the sources you mentioned. There are probably other. I'm gonna try and see if I can figure out what the name is of that tubes puzzle. Is that what it's called? Not about sorting. Line puzzle pipe art. Pipe puzzle? There's a variety of pipe puzzles. This is the one that's called Pipe Puzzle is actually about completely connecting a network of pipes so that all of the edges match with no overlaps. And so, yeah, that's not the one that we're talking about. I was thinking of, I think, Line Puzzle. Connecting lines without lifting a finger, that's not quite it. Line Puzzle Pipe Art. And maybe I'm just seeing these. There's lots of lots of these, perhaps. Similar to Pipe Mania. Is that the originator? I'd prefer to use the genre creator. Um, Pipe Puzzle Link. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of these kinds of things. Certainly, Pipe Mania itself, like just being able to draw the network, has been around for a really long time. Like I'm seeing like Amiga kind of thing. There are probably other sources, such as um, top in category for mobile app stores that meet the criteria. It would be good to build our repertoire of both sources and entries in the catalog. Ideally, we would be able to know all the pencil puzzles, all the puzzle types that have been published to ensure that we are doing novel work. Okay. Two, I'm okay with targeting TypeScript. My understanding is that agents sometimes have trouble um, manipulating the type system or getting lost in complexities of their making. So perhaps we would call for a code quality agent specialized in our language. and hmm, biased toward, Pre- prejudiced toward, weighted toward simplicity. Fun. Fun is an interesting topic. Fun is an interesting topic. Um, we might be able to come up with some heuristics around the obviousness of inferences or need to hypothesize that would correlate with my or other human judges' um, intuitions about fun. They might only apply to one puzzle type. They might only apply to one, but they might also generalize. For instance, maintaining long hypotheses that require filling in the whole board, filling in a large portion of the board, and requiring a lot of backtracking, when the hypothesis causes a contradiction might not be done. Or we might need to be careful about what affordances make it easy to reason about the puzzle information. There are a couple of puzzle types I think I've done in Simon Tatham that are that do require these really long chains, and then you do derive a contradiction. There's one called Dominosa. Dominosa is like you get a grid of numbers, and you have all of the dominoes up to that point. And you're supposed to use each domino once, and you're trying to figure out where all the dominoes are. So you go from a grid of numbers to a grid full of outlined 1 by 2 cells that use each domino one time. And that's one where you do make really long, deep hypotheses just to draw one little line in the grid to say, oh, well, these two can't be a domino. Is that fun? It's all right, but maybe it's like we might also make convenience features such as checkpoint and unwind to checkpoint that would make it easier to try things with um, like if you have to unwind a hypothesis in Simon Tatham, you got to press the undo button a bunch of times, and you have to remember for yourself where did that consequence chain start from, which one was the hypothesis that failed. uh, but yeah, easier to try things that would make it easier to try out hypotheses. Um, all right. I still left open this question of like, what's the puzzle type? Because it seems like laying this groundwork seems important. And up to now, a lot of the stuff that we're doing is very much human in the loop, right? It's manual. And so the mayor is trying to get us out of the loop, right? I didn't totally answer the question. Are you comfortable with being the arbiter of fun? Yeah, of course I am. But um, I think the intuition is that, it's not like robots have fun, but we might be able to notice it or model it or like write a function that has something to do with it. Incidentally, what model are we running right now? Top of the line, Opus 4.7, a million context. Yeah. All right. Okay. Consults and curates, ingesting a new source. That's great. Um, cool. Very good. Um, Cracking the Cryptic is another good one. Like, yeah, the some of these I have used before or haven't used before. Um, this seems really good. I think this is going to be fairly complete. Names, aliases, publishers. I mean, I think this is great. Like, it may be that we're reinventing some wheels, right? Like, there's already a list of these in the Wikipedia. Why are you making one? But the answer is kind of that over time we can keep looking for these and keep fanning that out. Um, we have a vested interest in keeping this catalog up to date, right? Because we want to add to what's there, add to the community. Where somebody who is just maintaining this in Wikipedia, eh, you know, maybe it's tagged right, maybe it's tagged wrong. Maybe somebody's tagged their thing as a pencil and paper puzzle in a way that would violate some of the restrictions that we're trying to use, like the deterministic no guessing, that kind of stuff. This is interesting. Board is a very like often they're grids. There are certainly some like let's say like there's a puzzle type called Slitherlink where you are creating a single long path that goes around each cell a certain number of times, depending on the number inside the cell, constrained by that. And not all of the grids are square. There are all kinds of different tessellations and tilings and stuff. Um, but yeah, this will, I'm sure, be okay to deal with. Um, yeah, there are other ones that like instead of following the square grid, are trying to create lines. Some of the grids have playable squares and unplayable squares. Um, some of them, the coordinates are very important, but there's no visible grid. There's one called bridges where you're trying to create bridges between islands. You can connect two islands with a vertical or horizontal line. And so they need to be sort of laid out in a grid. But as long as you are not like making slanted lines, you're not going to get fooled about, which nodes can be connected to one another. It's very obvious. And certainly, like in the video game context, it's not possible to draw like a weird line. You can only connect two islands together. So, um, yeah, the grid is kind of implied, but it's not actually there. Region filling, looping. This is like creating a loop, creating a path. Placing objects. This would be like there's one I saw based on Battleship. It was kind of fun. And it's sort of like the grid tell constrains like which battleship pieces might you have and how many of them are there and that kind of thing. Anyway, polyominoes. I already did a polyomino game. It's looks much like this actually. This is like a polyomino calendar that shows today's date. Oh boy, I actually think this wasn't showing today's date. It was showing like some other older date. But just take my word for it. I like solved it online before I got here. All right. Um, Another puzzle type I saw, and this is in Simon Tatham again, based on the four color map theorem. Can you color this map, given the coloring that has already happened, in the four colors so that none of the touching regions have the same color? Um, yeah, notable techniques. You could also say that like a lot of these are based on maybe similar underlying mathematical constructs, formalisms. Like we're trying to draw some kind of like Hamiltonian circuit or solve the traveling salesman problem or something like that. And at the small scales of these puzzles, with enough clues, it might be possible to say, do that in a tractable amount of time rather than having to try all, billion possibilities to find the shortest path through all the cities or something like that. Um, I said billion, but the traveling salesman gets really big really quick. Um, all right, so that's cool. Constraint family and notable techniques. Yeah, this is just X with a relabeling. Yes, yeah. So like I was talking about, like a lot of these puzzles might be like at the say like the graph or the abstract layer like isomorphic to each other and in some sense that's okay like you might be able to come up with a sufficiently different puzzle that even ones that are isomorphic have a different user experience. But I don't think that's totally true. I really kind of believe that if all that we're doing is graph coloring or whatever, there are enough different experiences of that you know the constraints that you apply and the rules that are there are also kind of interesting. And so even though they turn out to be kind of the same, the differences are still kind of interesting, and you might still call them different stuff. Um, I might mention this about number one is that trying to categorize the mathematical formalism underneath each puzzle type might be interesting. All right, second, TypeScript and the simplifier. Yes, good, good. Tentative stack, pure TypeScript, ECMAScript. I don't know what this ESM is. Zero dependencies, runs in Node browser, and React Native, I think, is what that would be. Um, by test, haven't used before, but fine. Um, Mobile shell, and haven't used these either. Progressive web app, I think, is what that would be standing for. It's interesting how it's going to certain jargon, and I don't know all of the jargon. It's more of an expert on that jargon than I am. But perhaps that's what it's seeing inside of the training data. And this is something I probably haven't emphasized enough as we've gone through these talks. Um, I really my theory of the case. What is this thing? What is the mayor? What's it doing? Um, it's not a personality exactly, although it's been programmed perhaps with a personality, and it's not an emotional being, although it's been programmed to respond to your emotions and mirror them back in some way. I think that's the real word is mirror. If you want an expert on TypeScript, then it gives that to you. And then it starts talking in the jargon of that expert. If you want a shoulder to cry on, if you want a girlfriend, you know, um, it just mirrors that back to you. And so I've always believed, as I've been working with these things, that um, especially as we kind of got to a point where they were clearly coding faster than me, I sort of had to start grappling with the idea of like, what am I bringing to the table and what is it bringing to the table? And a lot of the experiences that I've had are sort of like that. Like, if I am pushing it to design at the edge of my skill level, to criticize my designs and to come up with actual ideas that challenge me or challenge this design. Um, and the reason that we're doing that is in order to, we don't really understand a design until we can criticize it, until we can see the trade offs, until we can challenge it, right? And so my goal has always been to get it to challenge me and to tell me when we're full of crap or it's not going to work. Please criticize my idea. Um, I really feel like this is the best way to get it to not be sycophantic, to um, constantly be criticizing one way or the other. So you'll see me a lot also pushing back on it because I expect that from it as well. And it gives it to me. That's the theory. All right. The human style solver emits a profile per puzzle. Forced branching, hypothesis time, guessing required, state advance before a hypothesis resolves. I think that's cool. Deduction families required. If it can do this, oh yeah, locality flow. This is very cool. Yes. Deductions that unlock disproportionate progress. Yes. Good. Okay, cool. Um, sure. Um, okay, right. I keep doing this. I keep typing before mouse scroll. Looks good. Rerun. Um, we're talking about catalogs. Um, one thing I would add. Wait a second. Is the like we were talking about the underlying mathematical formalism, if we can find it. If we can find it. On the theory that many puzzle types boil down to a similar formalism. It would be helpful to know this. And the scope of variation required to get to novelty. Okay, two. Um, yeah, I really liked the stuff about yeah, TypeScript simplifier. That's great. Difficulty rating. Thought that was really good. Um, Recatalog. There we go. Okay, finally, um, let's see. We've got simplifier authority. Yeah. Um, simplifier. Yeah, let's start with the gate. Let's start with gating and see how that goes. Solver dependencies. I assume we will be able to find a so when it's talking about SAT or CSP, I assume that's talking about, like I was mentioning, satisfiability or constraint satisfaction. CSP, I'm not sure. Yeah, I assume we will be able to find a suitable library to ship. I think it is good. I think it's good to have that SAT solver that may go faster than the human style solver. Because it may be in the loop when creating and checking a new puzzle. But certainly allow in testing for now. Okay. I think that covers. I think that covers every. I think that covers everything. If you want to go ahead. Cool. Well, I think I might need to run off for an errand, but I hope this has been fun. Tomorrow, I guess cliffhanger. We'll see what it came up with and take it from there. So, yeah, hope this was fun for you all, and we'll catch y'all later soon. And